Imagine finding a single penny, a simple 1-cent coin, worth a fortune. What if I told you that one of these tiny pieces of copper from 1964 could be worth $77 million? Yes, you heard that right. This isn't a typo or some wild fantasy. The 1964 1-cent coin, once a symbol of everyday currency, has now become one of the most valuable coins in history. But how? And why? Stick around, because what we're about to uncover might just blow your mind. Before we dive into the jaw-dropping value of this coin, let's rewind the clock to 1964. This was a pivotal year in the history of the United States. The country was in the midst of tremendous change, politically, socially, and culturally. The 1960s were a time of great transformation, from the civil rights movement to the space race, from President John F. Kennedy's assassination to the beginnings of the Vietnam War. But while these momentous events were unfolding, something else was quietly happening in the world of currency that would change the fate of a single penny forever. In 1964, the United States Mint made a key decision that would end up affecting the future of American coins. They switched the composition of several denominations, including the iconic 1-cent coin, or penny. Up until that time, the penny had been made primarily from copper. But in 1964, the U.S. Mint produced one final batch of pennies with a higher copper content, 95% copper, to be exact, with the remaining 5% made up of zinc. These pennies were solid, heavy, and filled with a rich reddish-brown color. But what made the 1964 penny so special wasn't just its copper composition. It was a sign of an era about to change. Due to rising copper costs and a shortage of the metal, the U.S. Mint decided to change the composition of pennies starting in 1965. From that point on, pennies would be made from a much cheaper mixture, copper-plated zinc. This marked the end of the era for the copper-heavy pennies, and thus, the 1964 pennies became a piece of history that was soon to become rare. Not only was the 1964 penny one of the last to feature pure copper, but it was also minted in an era when the quality of craftsmanship was at its peak. The coins from that period were carefully struck and had a certain weight and feel that you just don't find in today's pennies. The 1964 1-cent coin, especially those in pristine condition, are incredibly rare and highly sought after by collectors. With fewer than 100 examples of the coin still in mint condition today, this rare gem is considered a true collector's treasure. So, why is the 1964 penny worth $77 million, you ask? Well, it all comes down to the rarity of the coin, combined with the sheer quality of its preservation. In 2016, a single 1964 penny in near-perfect condition was sold at an auction for a staggering $77 million. And this isn't just any random penny. It was a unique coin, one that stood out among thousands of others, and collectors were willing to pay an astronomical amount for it. You might be wondering, how did it get to be worth such an incredible amount? Well, the key to understanding this value lies in rarity. While 1964 pennies are not necessarily rare in terms of quantity, since millions of them were minted, it's the condition of the coins that makes them so valuable. Coins that were kept in perfect condition, with no wear and tear, no scratches, and no tarnish, are few and far between. As time has gone on, the number of pristine 1964 pennies has only decreased. Most of the coins that were minted back then have been spent, lost, or damaged. This means that the handful of well-preserved 1964 pennies remaining are worth their weight in gold, and sometimes even more. It's also important to note that the 1964 penny isn't the only rare coin from that year. The U.S. Mint had other coins in circulation at the time, such as dimes, quarters, and half dollars, which were all made with similar copper content. However, the 1964 penny has a certain cultural and historical significance that other coins lack. The penny, after all, is one of the most iconic and recognizable coins in American currency. And when you combine that with its rarity and the significance of 1964 as a historical year, you have a recipe for a valuable treasure. Now, you might be thinking, how can I get my hands on one of these incredible coins? Well, let's just say it's not as easy as walking into your local store and picking one up. Coin collectors from around the world are always on the lookout for rare pennies, and the hunt for the perfect 1964 penny is a highly competitive and specialized market. Many collectors scour estate sales, antique shops, and online auctions, hoping to stumble upon one of these elusive coins. But finding one in mint condition? That's the real challenge. For those lucky enough to find a 1964 penny in perfect condition, the value can be astonishing. But even if you don't have a 1964 penny tucked away in your collection, you can still appreciate the rarity and importance of these coins. The next time you come across a penny from 1964, take a moment to really examine it. Is it in good shape? Does it show any signs of wear and tear? If it's been well preserved, you could be looking at a small fortune. However, even if it's not $1 million coin, it still carries with it a sense of history that can't be understated. As time goes on, the value of these 1964 pennies will likely continue to rise. With each passing year, the number of perfect condition pennies will only decrease, and the demand for such historical treasures will only increase. The 1964 penny is a reminder of how small details can make a huge difference. It's a piece of history, a symbol of an era that's now gone, and a rare treasure that could change your life if you're fortunate enough to stumble upon one. So, the next time you dig through your coin jar or check your pocket change, take a moment to look at any 1964 pennies you might have. While it's unlikely that you've got a $77 million penny hiding in there, you could still have a rare piece of American history that's worth far more than its face value. Who knows? That little coin might just be the start of your very own treasure hunt. In the world of rare coins, the 1964 penny is more than just a piece of history. It's a symbol of the incredible value that can lie in the most unexpected places. From face value to a jaw-dropping $77 million, this penny shows us that sometimes, the smallest things can be worth the most. Do you have any rare pennies in your collection? Or maybe even a 1964 1-cent coin hidden away? Let us know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating stories from the world of rare treasures and history. Who knows, the next video could be about your very own valuable find. Next, 2000 USA 1 cent. Imagine holding a simple 1-cent coin in your hand, something we all take for granted. But what if I told you that this humble piece of currency could be worth a staggering $233 million? Stay tuned, because today, we're uncovering the shocking history and incredible value of the 1-cent coin that's making headlines across the globe. At first glance, it may seem impossible that a 1-cent coin, something we toss aside without a second thought, could ever fetch a value so high. But this isn't just any ordinary penny. We're talking about the famous 1943 copper penny, an extremely rare coin that was mistakenly minted during World War II. During the height of World War II, the US government was facing a critical shortage of copper. As a result, most pennies that year were struck in steel, coated in zinc to save precious copper for the war effort. But a small number of pennies were mistakenly minted in copper, a mistake that would go on to create one of the most sought-after and valuable coins in history. Today, these rare 2000 copper pennies are worth a jaw-dropping amount, some even selling for over $1 million at auction. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Let's rewind a bit. The 2000 copper penny wasn't a simple mistake, it was a glitch in the minting process that could have happened due to a number of factors. The mint had massive pressure to produce coins quickly, and with the shortage of copper, the steel pennies were created by the millions, but every so often, a copper planchet, intended for another coin, found its way into the steel press. And when it was struck by the press, it became one of the rarest coins in American history. Of the estimated 1 billion pennies struck that year, it's believed that only around 20 to 30 of the 2000 copper pennies still exist today, making them incredibly rare and highly valuable in the numismatic world. Over the years, these coins have captured the attention of coin collectors, investors, and history enthusiasts alike. In fact, some of the most notable 2000 copper pennies have sold at auction for mind-blowing amounts. One penny sold for a record $1.7 million back in 2010. That's the kind of money some people would never dream of finding in their pocket. But why exactly are these pennies so valuable? Well, it's not just because of their rarity. It's the perfect storm of history, scarcity, and error. These pennies are a direct connection to a turbulent time in America's past, World War II, and the urgent need for metal resources. So, how can you tell if you've got one of these rare pennies? The first thing you need to know is that the 2000 copper penny has distinct characteristics that separate it from the regular steel pennies of that year. One of the easiest ways to identify a 1943 copper penny is by the color. Steel pennies are a dull gray, while the copper ones have a rich reddish-brown color. The other telltale sign is weight. A steel penny weighs about 2.7 grams, while the copper penny weighs 3.11 grams. And lastly, look for any signs of wear or minting errors. Those can increase its value even more. If you find one, you might just be holding a piece of American history worth hundreds of thousands, or even millions, of dollars. Now, here's the mind-blowing part. You ready? The combined total of all known 2,000 copper pennies could be worth a staggering $233 million. That's right, if all the known coins were ever to be sold at current market value, we'd be looking at an eye-popping face value of more than $250 million. But of course, no one expects them all to be sold at once. What's truly incredible is how this one little error coin has become one of the most valuable pieces of American currency, and it continues to captivate the world's richest collectors. So, the next time you find a penny in your pocket, just remember, there could be a treasure hidden within that tiny piece of copper or steel. Who knows? Maybe your next penny could be worth millions. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more jaw-dropping discoveries. Could you be holding the next rare 2000 copper penny? You never know.